Hello, everyone. This is Independent Conservative. Thank you all for joining me once again. So, President Donald Trump, and I know you've heard about this, but President Donald Trump has decided, or really is warning, the Washington, D.C. Local government that he is going to federalize and take over the city if the mayor doesn't do anything about what's going on in Washington, D.C. You know what I'm talking about? The high crime, the theft, the murders, the homelessness is going on there. It's just off the charts. And he is threatening to basically take over. I'm hearing news that he is essentially threatening to send National Guards there. And this is a major, major problem. Of course, the mainstream liberal media is having a hizzy over this. They're basically complaining that this is a sign of tyranny, and we don't need this kind of thing. And on a lower level, I can kind of understand that threat because myself and a few others have talked about the whole idea of the government taking control of the country and creating what has been often called a police state, where the government controls everything. You know, they police and everything, and it ends up being like old Russia or old China or old Cuba, where you got police officers standing at every corner. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's the threat. But the question is this really tyranny? Is it tyranny? Well, we're going to talk about this a little bit. So here, I'm going to read a little bit from this article here. Here's the article here, so you guys will know what I'm reading it from. And I'm going to read a little bit in this, and we're going to talk about this, whether or not this is tyranny or not. We're going to talk about the crime and all the rest. President Donald Trump announced on Monday that he is taking major steps to address rampant crime in Washington, D.C., quote, officially evoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act and placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, in addition to activating the National Guard. Now, like I said, I can understand the threat and the fear, but let's get a little bit deeper into this. The article goes on to say, Trump made the major declaration during a highly anticipated press conference on D.C. crime Monday morning, declaring it, quote, Liberation Day in the nation's capital. Quote, this is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as President of the United States, I'm officially evoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is. And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control. And you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that, Trump revealed right off the bat. Very good people, but they're tough. And they know what's happening. They've done it before, Trump said, also announcing that he is deploying the National Guard to, quote, help reestablish law order of public safety in Washington, D.C., assuring that they will be allowed to do their jobs, quote, properly. Trump told reporters packed in the tight White House briefing room that this is not a partisan issue, noting that they have been victims of the crime as well. Quote, I understand a lot of you tend to be on the liberal side, but you don't want to get mugged and raped and shot and killed, he said. Good point. You want to be able to leave your apartment or your house where you live and feel safe and go into a store to buy a newspaper or buy something. And you don't have that right now, he said, noting the murder rate in Washington, D.C. Washington today is, quote, higher than that of Bulgaria, Colombia, Mexico City, some of the places that you hear about as being the worst places on earth. The number of car thefts has doubled over the past 5 years, and the number of carjackings has more than tripled. Murders in 2023 reached the highest rate probably ever. They set 25 years, but they don't know what that means because it just goes back 25 years, Trump continued, offering some perspective. Our capital city has been overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals, roving mobs of wild youth, drugged out maniacs, and homeless people, and we're not going to let it happen anymore, Trump declared. We're not going to take it, just like we did on our southern border, he added. End of article. And I mean, let's be realistic. He's speaking the sentiment in the heart of a lot of people, I'm going to assume, in that area. I mean, I'm going to argue that what he said here, based on what I've read, would touch the heart of a lot of people in the city of Cleveland. Because regardless of whether or not you liberal or Democrat or Republican or conservative, you don't want to leave your home and feel like somebody going to jump you, a bunch of young knucklehead kids going to jump you and rob you and take your life. People are getting tired of that. On the 9 to 5 level where people just want to do their thing and live their life, they're getting tired of the crime. Now, here's what's interesting to me. The fact that Trump made this statement at the foundation of that being the young guy that was assaulted in the same city, Washington, D.C., what was his name? Nicknamed Balls, which was in Big Balls? Yeah, interesting name. Was horribly beaten. I mean, I saw the picture of it. It was terrible. Horribly beaten because allegedly he was trying to stop a car theft or something along that line. And he put his life at risk, and a bunch of young kids just jumped on him and beat him real bad, an inch of his life, according to some sources. And so this declaration that Trump is saying here is kind of coming off the back of that. Okay. At any rate, the question is, will this lead to government tyranny? You know, the bigger picture of people looking at this as saying, okay, this is going to happen from state to state, and this will be basically the reason or the motive for the government taking over the cities all over the country and basically federalizing everything. This would be the motive. This would be the reasoning for that. Could this be leading to that? Possible. I'm not going to rule that out because I do a lot of reading. And I understand what is commonly known as the New World Order, NWO, okay, government control, martial law. I'm very familiar with that. And I'm very familiar with a lot of what is known as hidden history, things that have happened in the past that the government has been involved in that was not good, okay? We're not going to get into detail there. But here's my argument. That being the case, don't give the government a reason. It's simple. Don't give the government a reason. Because here, clearly, the government has a reason. The federal government has a reason because evidently the people in Washington, D.C., the government in Washington, D.C. is not doing their job. So now the federal government has to step in and save the day. Don't give them a reason to bring about quote unquote tyranny. If you're not going to do anything as a local government, don't give them a reason. But this is the same issue with a lot of these Democrat or progressive Democrat-led cities all over the country. Mine being one of them. We have the same issue here in the city of freaking Cleveland. We have the same issue. Now, here's something else that bugs me and aggravates me is the fact that I was watching a news clip, I think it was on MSNBC, and they were all, of course, that's that's liberal. They're nothing but supporters of communism and socialism, Marxism anyway. And I remember one of the reporters saying something along the line of that this is, I'm paraphrasing his words, this is tyranny, this is government takeover. And then they started to cite numbers. It's like, well, but President Trump is talking about federalizing Washington, D.C. and taking it over and without any evidence. First of all, as a reporter, you're not supposed to be giving your opinions to begin with. Because apparently, I guess this reporter was working off of the idea that according to statistics in Washington, D.C., apparently this supposed to be concerning Washington, D.C., according to statistical data, okay, crime is going down. The problem with statistical data in that area is if the regular 9 to 5 people are living their lives, going about their business, and you say the statistical data says that crime is going down, whether it's homicides, whether it's theft, whether it's assaults, and you say statistical data says these crimes are going down, and yet the 9 to 5ers, okay, that's trying to live their life, that's leaving their home, trying to go to work, trying to do the right thing, and all they're doing is getting robbed, beat, assaulted, homicided, and all the rest, those numbers just don't match, homie. That is a bunch of bull crap. When the numbers don't match reality. Okay? The regular people on the ground don't want to hear that. They want answers, and if they're honest with themselves, whether they're Democrat or Republican, especially the ones that both Democrat, whether they're honest or not, Whether these Democrats, these people that vote Democrats are Democrat are honest or not, they don't want these criminals assaulting them. They don't. But for whatever reason, they hide behind this facade. And when it comes time to vote, especially blacks, I'm just going to be real with them. I'm keeping one number. Yes, I'm picking on the blacks because we do it all the time. We'll yip and yap about crime, all the rest, and then come time to vote, we keep voting for these progressive Democrats who don't believe in law and order. It's amazing to me, man. It's amazing to me. If we would just change our voting habits, I believe most of this stuff we wouldn't be seeing, in my personal opinion. You're still going to have crime, clearly. You're still going to have it, but you're not going to have as much. I highly doubt it. If there are consequences, real consequences for these criminals and the things that they do, I don't believe you would have as much crime when you start voting for politicians that believe in law and order. Bottom line. So the concept of tyranny, in my opinion, is a very real concept. Like I said in the introduction of this, I believe that that's going to inevitably happen. But my thing is don't give them a reason. Because clearly here, it seems evident that there's a reason why he would want to bring in the National Guard. What reasoning would you have not? I mean, if the local government and the local police aren't doing their job, when I say the local police, I'm not saying that as a way of coming against them, because these local police they can only do so much. I tried to communicate that reality to someone I knew a long time ago. And I told him, I said, the police officers only have so much power. It's some things they can do and some things they can't do. Okay. Well, he's just some young guy, man, think he knows so much. I wanted to tell him, shut up. First of all, I was trained as a police officer, Dumbo. I graduated out of police academy, so I at least know a little bit of something. I study about police officers, so I at least know a little bit of something about police work. And yes, they have some autonomy, but a lot of that autonomy and freedom is based on their local department. And the freedom, and also not on the local department, but the mayor, because the police department is connected to the mayor of that city. Okay, so they do have some, they basically can only go so far. They can arrest a person. Okay, they can arrest a person for a clear crime they've committed. Okay, and go through all the processes. Turn around, and that person's back out in the streets because you have politicians, liberals, okay, the left, liberal city councils, liberal mayors, liberal people, the people that make the laws in those cities, liberals, okay, who let them out because they believe certain ideologies that they have, certain worldviews that they have about crime. Most people, most thinking people don't have that mindset. They just don't. Most people don't. That excuse, well, they committing these crimes because they're poor. Man, stop it. We're not going to go over that anymore. But my opinion on this is I don't think it's tyranny in the classic sense of tyranny. If you give reason for the federal government to come and take over, then whose fault is that? It's the fault of the local government. It's the fault of the city. It's their fault because they're not doing what they need to be doing. Because you have liberal, progressive Democrats in office, in positions of authority, who have a screwed up worldview on crime and a screwed up worldview on almost a lot of stuff, in my opinion. It's in the leadership. A lot of this is in the leadership. Don't scream and holler and poot and snot about, I'm getting tired of this stuff. I'm getting tired of these criminals. And you go right behind and vote for politicians that coddle criminals. I don't want to hear it. I just don't want to hear it. Okay. But yeah, that's my opinion on what Donald Trump is doing. Call it what you want. My thought, once again, at the end of this video is, don't give the federal government, a reason to bring a quote unquote tyranny. Act like you got some freaking sense. Stop robbing people. Stop assaulting people for stupid. Stop doing that. Stop being ignorant. Get a job, go to school, get married, and mind your business. And probably more than likely we want to have these issues. It's really not hard. It's not rocket scientists. Fathers, be fathers. Mothers, be mothers. Sons and daughters be sons and daughters. No excuses. Then you won't have, quote unquote, government tyranny. Okay? You won't have, quote unquote, government takeovers. Quit the bull crap, man. That's my opinion on it. What do you guys think about what President Donald Trump is doing? Do you think it's tyranny? Do you think it's going to lead to tyranny? Do you think what he's doing here is acceptable, or is going too far? What do you think? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. God bless you all, and see you again.